All right, let's begin the evening's technical challenges. All right, well, we're up and running on Facebook, on YouTube. That's the YouTube crowd. Let me kick off the Instagram crowd. All right. So, okay. We're all good here? All right. We'll see if we can find a few people to jump on. I am trying to watch 3 screens at once. Let's see how this all pans out. We've still got about 10 minutes, so I am just going to have a bit of a chat. I'm just watching all of the screens, well, hopefully I'm watching all of the screens. As we get busier on here, this is definitely going to become something I'm going to need to have somebody, possibly one of my admins, jump on and actually do a little bit of crowd control and answering messages and sending things across to me, because I am realizing that running 3 different windows here, and then the other don't mind that. All right. We have. Let's see if we've got. I'll be very careful not to bump everything because I have so many little screens open and everything's balanced so I'm roughly looking in the right direction, or the same direction for everybody. So, all right. The hardest thing with, you guys can't see, hardest thing of running this is because I've got different cameras doing different things. I have multiple screens that I'm watching, and then I have a dual PC screen behind that, which is where I'm trying to get to chat windows and bits and pieces, but in a way that I can see it without having to fully turn away from what I'm doing here. So this is a unique little challenge setting it up this way, but anyway, we will give this a go. And I am basically rambling. You can see a bit of the behind the scenes setup, and we'll wait for people to jump on. And so, yeah, I will. Where are we? We're still at 5. Watching my clock. I want to kick the Zoom meeting off pretty well on time, but I always try and kick off the lives just beforehand so that people have got a little bit of something to do. They see the lives pop up a little bit early, maybe attract a bit of interest. So there you have it. So I'm still working out some of the platforms because they show up different whether you're looking at PC or whether you're looking at mobile devices as to where the menus are, where the chats pop up. And as you can tell, there's a little bit of grey in here, which means there is a little bit of technical barrier. Not that I can't do it, but I don't know what it is with modern technology, but the children seem to be able to do it from the time they can crawl. And those of us who grew up with Commodore 64 computers, anything of that era, I know that is absolutely showing my age, because if you don't have any grey here, you probably have no idea what a Commodore 64 computer is. Anyway, all that aside, the whole purpose of these Monday nights is all about business and to help you guys actually grow your businesses. Now, I've been doing this for about 15 years, so there is a lot that I have done probably the wrong way over the last 15 years. And so my aim is to be able to help you guys actually run your business without as many of the headaches as I had. However, there is a certain amount of headaches you have to go through. So that's going to be tonight's jam. We are going to dig into what business looks like and setting the expectation of what business is in the early days. Because, to be honest, one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn was what to expect from business, not just what I wanted it to be, but what business actually looks like when you're in the trenches. And having an expectation that business is actually difficult, that it's actually going to, you're going to want to quit on a somewhat regular basis, and that's okay. That's normal. Going into it thinking everything's going to be fine and wonderful, and then it's not, is actually really demoralizing because you're not prepared for when things get difficult. And so I want to do a bit of a where you start in business and where you should be looking for, what you should be looking to do, and sort of how, if I had my time over, how I would approach that. So I won't kick off into what I want to share on until we actually hit time and I get going with the Zoom group. But for any of you who are on the lives, both YouTube and Instagram lives, if you guys have any questions around business that you want to throw it in the chat and ask your question. They can be really good learning opportunities for everybody. If you have a question and something that you want to bring forward, get an answer on, that can often help other people who have either maybe not thought about it today, but then when you ask your question, they go, oh, that's right, that would be really handy to know. Or they've just wanted to ask a question but don't know what to ask. Having you ask that question for them can sometimes be really, really useful. So if you've got a question, throw it in the chat and I will do my best to give you an answer, or at least point you in the right direction. So I'm not saying I know everything about business, but 15 years of doing it day in, day out does give you some perspective, and it does give you some things. If anything, I can probably tell you a good chunk of stuff to avoid. The interesting part, and this is very much like raising children, it's all wonderful. You give the advice and you think everybody's going to go away and take my advice and they're not going to have any troubles anymore. And most people don't actually listen to the advice, don't actually adhere to it until after they've tripped over a few times. You tell a kid, here's how to ride the push bike. Be careful of this, do that. And they go, yeah, okay. Then they just do it their own way and fall off. And you're like, I tried to warn you. This is what business coaching is often like. There's only so much that we can do from a telling point of view. The best thing we can do from a coaching point of view is to be there for you when things start to fall apart, because your nuanced way of how you approach things is going to have its own levels of successes and failures. Yes, you can learn concepts that are going to help, but it doesn't mean that you've fully unpacked how it's all going to work for you. So we're just about ready to kick off, and we've still got a minute. I'm just going to drag the Zoom crew and their screen up so we can get going with that. Okay. Close that out. So just give me 2 seconds on the Zoom side. Get that closed out. And let's launch this off.
Recording in progress.
There we go. Okay. I believe we're good to go and get into this. So welcome to the Monday night coaching call. Now, the name's probably going to change as this whole thing progresses, and I am looking at a few different screens. So if you see me looking off to the side of the camera, it's because I'm trying to give this information to as many people as possible. So we have the Zoom crowd over here. Hi, Zoomies. We have YouTube hanging out over here. Hey, YouTube. And we've got the Instagram Live guys over here. Hey, guys. So hopefully this can get to as many people as possible, because what I am attempting to do with this business coaching is to help you in structuring, setting up, and overcoming the hurdles in your business so that you can succeed in your business, not so that this is some sort of adaptation of my business. The whole point is that I think some of the greatest things that can come to mankind are locked up in the minds of people who don't get the opportunity to share them. And so if I can help people bring that out and overcome their own obstacles, then that's a win for me. After 15 years, there's a lot of things that I have learned what not to do. I've learned some tactics over what to do. And my aim is to help you structure your business, to help be the architect of your business so that you can build something that is going to work. Ultimately, this is where the greatest fear in business is. We hear all the statistics over how many businesses fail, how often they fail, and the likelihood of ultimate success is quite low. I can tell you from personal experience, one of the biggest indicators as to whether you're going to succeed in business or not is whether you have a mentor or a business coach that can actually help you get through. And from my experience, that is often going to be more than one person, not normally concurrently, but it can be as you get on. You may have somebody who's more of a strategic systems coach, someone who's more of a branding coach, someone who's a marketing coach. So different areas can end up with different coaching. But in the initial phases of business, you need to make sure that you have somebody on that coaching realm. And I'll lay out, I guess, the most common way that looks. When you first start, you have no idea what a coach is, you have no idea how to work with one, and you have no idea where to find one. And so when it comes to any kind of business mentoring and coaching, you're primarily going to get it from free events. You're going to get it from YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and wherever else free content is going to pop up. And you'll just pick up little bits of information that you find. And it'll be like, oh, that was really interesting. Oh, that was a great piece of information. And you'll start to formulate some ideas around that information that you've heard. Now, the caveat on that is that you can also learn a bunch of bad information. You can learn from some internet guru who has no experience, and you take their advice, you try it, and it doesn't work. I'll give you a personal example of what that looked like for me. So going back a little ways, I had no idea what marketing and branding was. To be honest, I couldn't tell you the difference between marketing, sales, branding, any of those terms. To me, it was all the same thing. And so I was just doing what I was doing. And I thought, you know what? I need to do it better. I need to find somebody to do my marketing, because I'd heard that term thrown around and I thought, I'll go. I was at a business event and someone was quote unquote recommended to do marketing. They did business marketing and they were a marketing specialist. And I went, great, I will go talk to them. And they, had a really great sales pitch. They could present what they were going to do really well. And I thought, you know what? I know nothing about this. What better thing to do than to get somebody who's an expert? I will just get them to do it. So I did. I engaged them, and that was a decent sum of money, put it that way. I had my wife questioning what the heck I had spent that much money on, but I convinced her it was a good idea and it was a great investment. I had no idea. I'll cut to the bit that you're all hanging on. How did it turn out? Not good. Now, the reason it didn't turn out real well is I had no idea to gauge whether it was working or not. I didn't know what marketing was. So I didn't know how to keep an eye on it. I didn't know what was happening on the back end. I didn't know how to read the results. I just saw stuff happening and went, I guess that's good. The lesson I learned out of that is that you need to learn a base level of every skill in your business before you outsource it. And I know that sucks. And I've been in the trenches where you're like, I just need help. It's not growing. I can't do this on my own. I need somebody else. So I'm just throwing mud at a wall, hoping something will stick, and I'll take any option that might work. The problem with that approach is you have no idea which one's going to work because you've got no context for that decision making. And so if we can rewind that whole process and look at how you should structure that so that you don't get into the point where you're just trying absolutely anything because you're desperate. Making decisions out of desperation is a very bad way to operate. You've probably heard the expression, never make a decision when you are emotional. Desperation is an emotion. And so you will make an emotionally charged decision that will probably not have a lot of logic behind it and can get you in a lot of trouble. So let's wind back. What should we have done, or what should I have done in that situation when I needed somebody to do marketing? First of all, if you can't define the role and you can't define, like in a job description, if you can't write out the job description of the position, the work that you need done, the dot points of what that's going to look like, then you can't hire somebody. The reason is, if you can't write it out and explain it, you don't know it well enough to be able to keep an eye on somebody else. And so you're just going to be hoping against hope that maybe it works. So the likelihood that it actually works is pretty low. So in that area then, learn from the free content you get online, what's marketing. Then you're going to go, okay, I've kind of figured out what marketing is now. I'll give it a go. And so you learn how to set up a marketing campaign. And you start to just get some runs on the board. You get it to happen. You learn about posting content. You learn about doing captions. You learn like all this little stuff about how to present. You're going to learn the difference between advertising and marketing. And so once you've got a reasonable idea of all of those little pieces, then you can bring somebody in to say, right, I need you to do the marketing, not the advertising, not the sales, but the marketing. And likewise, when you go to do advertising and sales, you know, I need someone over here to do advertising. I need someone over here to build a sales process. Here's my outline for our sales process. Here is the customer journey. I need somebody to build that out a bit better, but I know how I want this to track. I know what kind of clients we're looking for. These are base level things that you have to know about your own business before you get anybody on board. And so the best place to take this from is to go all the way back to planning a business from the beginning on a clean slate. What would that look like? So the best way to do it is and you've probably heard it before, start with the end in mind. So we're going to go, what do you want the business for? And you need to be brutally honest with yourself. Do you want the business because you want the title of business owner? Because you can do that and be broke and achieve your dreams. Probably not what you're heading for, or shouldn't be heading for. So if you're trying to make money in a business and you want the financial freedom that comes with a business, then define what, other than money, that looks like. And what I mean is what that money is going to buy. So when you have your success, when you can sit back and go, I made it, what does your life look like? What house are you in? What car do you drive? What are your hobbies? How many hours a week do you work? What do you work on in the business? Because some people want to do the doing of the work. Some people want to manage a business. Some people want to be in a boardroom. Some people want to be out in the field. You've got to figure out where your happy place is, because then you can reverse engineer how you get there. If you don't know where you want to be, we can't build a path to get you there. So let's start with that. Where do you want to be? So I'm going to walk through a scenario here. We're going to do a little bit of a role play of how this would play out. And then if I can spot any questions pop up, I will jump on and grab your questions. So we're going to look at the end and I'm going to say, all right, we want that property. It's worth $1 million. The upkeep, the maintenance, the income I want at that point, I'm going to want, let's say I want $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year. I want a $100,000 car that's paid for, and I want, my lifestyle to be supported if the house is paid for and the vehicle's paid for and the fishing boat that I want's paid for, and I'm on $150,000 a year, growing with inflation on today's numbers. Okay, I'd be pretty happy with that kind of a point. Lovely. Okay, so now we know to do that, we're going to need to figure out how to get to, let's call it choice, 1.5 million capital plus 150,000 a year in income. How are we going to achieve that? So then you need to go, with all that put together, how much do I need a year? Let's pick a 10-year period. I'm going to work the business for 10 years. Then I'm going to have this. So what does that plan look like? You have two options. You either build a business large enough that you can sell it, which is going to give you that capital injection, and you could probably set it up in such a way that you're going to sell, say, 90%, 95%, retain a 5% ownership. Now, if you've built the company large enough, 5% ownership may give you a dividend return of your 150,000 a year, growing over time as the business continues to grow. That may be a really good solution for you. It may be that you want to run the business fairly hard. You're going to make a good chunk of money as the business grows. You're going to end up at 300, 400, 500,000 a year as the business grows, and then you're going to put management in place, remove yourself, and just take a minority stake from an income point of view. You're going to drop back a bit, put managers in place, and that's going to be your ongoing revenue, and you're going to continue to own the business. That's an option as well. The one that's not an option is the one where you own the business with a couple of people, and you barely make 100 grand a year, and that's it, because that's not going to get you your dreams. So first we define what we want our businesses to give us in the end. Then we figure out how much we need to make a year. Then we figure out a business model that will support that. Then, once you have your business model, you're going to go through and you're going to figure out what it's going to take to get to that business model. To get that business based on that business model. Do you need, probably, sales, marketing, branding? Do you need a team? Do you need product? Do you need cash to buy equipment, buy product, inventory? How are you going to track it? What softwares do you need? All of these things need to be mapped out so that you can figure out how you're actually going to build this pathway to your success. Once you've got that, then you can start working at a fraction version of what you want it to become. And what I mean by that is, initially, a business is we're talking brand new business, it's going to start out with just you. And you are the only one putting any effort into this business because that's all there is. Then I strongly suggest you read Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time book. And it shows you the strategy of how, as you start to get busy, your life's getting a bit hectic, you stop, you do a time audit, and you go, let's have a look at what low value tasks I'm doing and the ones that are low skill that I can outsource quite easily. I can get a part-time VA, I can hire someone on Upwork or Freelancer or something to do certain tasks. I could get them to come in for a couple of hours a week, maybe the admin, maybe these other tasks, maybe doing some of the creatives for your for your social posts. You can get somebody part-time on some of these outsourcing sort of platforms to even do your whole content plan if it's fairly minimal. Maybe it's a 20-hour-a-week job to create the content and post the content onto your socials for you. There's a number of things that you can get outsourced to free up your time. And then right from that beginning, as soon as you get busy, you need to make sure that you have a plan that every time you get busy, you do an audit of your time and you start working out what parts of my world can I get somebody else in to do this task so that I don't need to be the one doing it. And if you do that on a regular basis, that is how you grow. Because you need to remain busy in the business doing the tasks that are of the highest value for you to do. Oftentimes, sweeping the floor, taking the bins out, replying to stupid marketing emails that are bombarding your inbox, or creating a couple of static posts a week to keep content fresh on your page, maybe not the best use of your time. And so if you can attack it from that point of view, you will find that you have spent time in all of the elements of the business because you're doing everything and you're replacing the low skill work first, which means it doesn't take much to sort of pass on the knowledge you have on that low skill work to somebody else. For example, you've got to take the bins out. Well, Timmy, 4 o'clock on Thursday, I need to take the bins out. You grab it by the handle and you walk it out over here and you put it out there. Got it? Cool. That's giving somebody a task. You know how to do it, you can pass it on. You need to do that as you get busier into the complex sections of your business as well, which means when you have the marketing work that needs to be done, when you have the advertising work. If you've never run an ad and you don't, and I would suggest that you actually do some training, do some paid training on how to run ads, even if it's only on one platform. You'll learn the process of what running an ad looks like and how that is valuable to the business, how it should look, the things to watch, how you read the data coming in, how do you assess cost of acquisition of a lead? How do you know your conversion metrics? How do you figure out whether the ad spend that you're putting in is worth it on the back end? Is it a good return? Is it a bad return? These are things that you need to learn through business training and coaching so that you can understand whether you're making or losing money and where you could better use your time and effort and where you could bring other people into the business. So that really is a really good way of structuring your entry into a business. Now, if you've got to this point and you're thinking, oh my goodness, that is a hell of a lot of work by the sound of it to try and do this basic startup of a business. Yes. This is the bit I really wanted to get into tonight. Yes, it's hard work. Okay, I want to talk to all of the different screens that I've got going on here. It is hard work. There is no two ways about it. Running a business, you have to be prepared to do the time in the trenches to get the thing up and running. The internet will try and convince you that it is easy to run a business, that you just need to do this, and voila, you'll make $1 million a year. It's not normally that easy. A few people have done it and it's been very easy, they just tripped over their own shadow and made $2 million a year. That's not common. The common way in which business works is that you are going to work and work and work and feel like every other day you should just give up and quit. But you have a dream for what you're trying to achieve. You have an end goal in mind and you know that it's possible because you did the planning at the beginning to map out your pathway to get there. So you know it's doable. I'll walk you through one of my own scenarios. And so one of the early stages that I went through in my business was I was incredibly busy, and I'm still busy, but I was crazy busy. And I actually wasn't going to tell this story because I think I can frame it a little better, but for the sake of illustration of what I'm talking about, I will tell it. In its base form, we'll talk about it a bit more another time. So I was running the business in a different format to what I am now, but I was running a traditional trade service business. Had a team of guys, we would go to site, we would do work, come home, electrical and solar based business. And then when I came home, I would do all the work I couldn't do when I was out on the tools all day. So I was quoting and invoicing and following up emails and doing everything myself. And I did that for the better part of a decade. And at the end of that, we had nothing to show for it other than I was exhausted and burnt out. But I believed in what I was trying to do, probably too much, but I hadn't figured out I needed coaching. I hadn't figured out how to learn how to do business. I just did my trade. And my daughter at the time was only a toddler. And I'm heading off to work in the morning. And I would normally work, close to home. So I was home most afternoons. Some days I'd work away, but primarily I was home, every evening. She comes running out as I'm on the way to work, grabs my leg, and she's crying. Daddy, do you have to go to work? I said, yes, I've got to go to work. Like, this is what I do. It's okay, I'll be back this evening. And she looked up at me and she said, Daddy, are you ever coming home? Because I was never there. Because I was too busy. No, I was physically there, but I was emotionally not there. I sat in the corner doing work. I would eat my meal in the corner at the computer with my back to the family night after night after night, trying to make my business work. And so I know what it's like to work a stupid amount of hours in a business for the better part of a decade and have nothing to show for it. Now, when I say nothing, I mean financially. I learned a lot, but it hurt, and it just about broke the family. And a lot of people get to that point before they start looking for help. I was stubborn like that as well. So don't get me wrong, I understand that it's a big pill to swallow to say, you need somebody else to basically babysit you along the early stages of actually launching your business. But it's how it is. And so once I'd swallowed that pill and realized that I was killing my family, I was just destroying everything that I was actually trying to build, I started down the track of getting professional coaching and training on how to run a business. And I didn't realize how much I didn't know until I actually talked to people who knew more than me. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have no idea how to do any of this. It's why I got burnt doing marketing. I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know how to measure success or failure in that. It was just, oh, well, we'll just try. The first time I tried to get somebody involved in sales, I didn't understand the difference between marketing and sales. And so I didn't know what I was looking for. And so if you can spend the time before you get to desperation to map out your business while you've still got a little bit of spare runway up your sleeve financially, the worst thing you can do is be like a week from financial collapse and then look for help, because it's going to take a while to actually get anything implemented and make any significant change. It's not a overnight flick of a switch. So all that to be said, even if you've got a business that's up and running, if you can take a little pause back, or if you can just maintain what you're doing, create a bit of separation, at least I would suggest 4 hours a week of dedicated time in 1 hour chunks minimum. So an hour a day, 4 days a week is enough time to sort of separate yourself from your business to actually learn the art of business, how to structure your business so that you can slowly make those changes that are going to give you the biggest impact. You're not going to be able to do it in one hit, and you're not going to fix a business in a week. But if you dedicate the time, put in the effort, start to go through Dan Martell's buy back your time principles, you will start to find that you can actually find enough time in your week to actually work on the business. A lot of people have heard the term, you need to work on your business rather than in the business, or a mixture of both. Working on the business means something other than the deliverable or the product. It means working on the sales process and what your customer journey and pathway looks like, rather than taking a sales call. It means working out, say, your inventory list or your ordering schedule, or those more administrative tasks that need to be done to support the business. That's working on the business. The working in the business is creating the product, is taking the phone calls, is doing the calendar schedule, is all of those tasks. So the planning side is the working on, the strategizing and the strategy behind your business is the working on, and the executing is the working in, the doing. The aim in business is to be working on your business and letting other people work in your business. If you're forever working in the business, nobody else has your vision and drive to work on the business to the level that you can. So do what you do best. In the beginning stages of a business, that's you for everything. Start by replacing yourself in the low value, low skill tasks, and then work your way up to the things that are of lesser value that are sucking your time, and you find a way to replace it. Excuse me. One of the very good ways of replacing yourself in your business is not just with people. So yes, you'll need to replace yourself with people to do certain tasks. You'll also figure out that you can do a lot of automation these days. You can do software. Software is a brilliant tool for buying back your time. And a lot of these automations that occur through software, such as a CRM, a customer relationship manager software, a CRM, that tool is going to save you hours of writing things into an Excel spreadsheet or keeping a notebook. It's going to make your day faster. It's going to make the processing of information faster. Building automated calculations, say Google or Excel sheets, so that you can actually do calculations where you can just insert a set of numbers and you get all of the data out the other side, rather than doing individual, written sums. These are just little simple examples of what you can do to implement something technologically based to buy back some of your time if you're doing it manually at the moment. Now, the reason you can, figure out that this works is you look at the amount of money that is in high-end software. There are companies that will spend $2 million a year on software because it gives them more than that in returns. And when you get further into business, you start to realize that everything is a value calculation and a value trade, not a money trade. It doesn't matter how much something costs if you can get triple the returns. If you do something and it costs you $1,000, but you can make $5,000 fairly quickly off that investment, and you have the $1,000 to spend, you would make that trade every day. What you need to do is think of everything in your business in those terms. What's it costing? What's it yielding? If it's costing more than it yields after, all the other time, effort, and materials that have gone into whatever that is, if the net result is that it costs more than it, if it delivers more than it costs, that's great. If it costs you $1,000 and it gives you $5,000 back after all costs are accounted for, do that again and again and again. But if you've got something that on the surface, it costs $1,000 and it returns $1,500, but then by the time you take your time and effort and all the other bits and pieces out, it actually ended up being, it actually only returns you about $500. What most people don't realize in their business is they have these things. That $1,000 thing that looks on the surface like it's returning $1,500, but once you take into account all the other things associated with delivering on it, on whatever else it's sucking out of the business, you find that it's returning less than 1-to-1. Do everything you can to either fix it or get rid of that thing. And you don't know this unless you start to learn to live by your numbers. Don't just go, I have a feeling about it. If you can't back it up by data in your business, these are the sales, these are the calls, this is the time. If you don't have data, you can't make a good decision. You can only guess. And guessing in business is probably the quickest way to bankrupt yourself. Make sure you've got a way of collecting the data of how your business is running and constantly have the same set of data so you can track it. Even if it's just a row of line items, an Excel sheet, and you have number of customers this week, how much we spent on ads, how many of those customers did we get on a second call, how many of those customers bought, when they bought, how much was each customer worth? At the end of that, how much did we make, how much did we spend for the week, wages, cost, power, whatever else, and how much did we make? And you can then just do something as simple as that and track your way through and go, we had 10 customers come in, we ended up with 2 paying customers, our total cost with all things considered was $3,000 this week, and our total sales was $5,000. That gave us a net profit of $2,000 this week. Hey, we had a good week. Let's try and do that again next week. Then replicate what you did. But if you don't know that that's working, you can't continue it. Likewise, if you do your numbers, you get to the end of the week and go, well, it cost us $5,000 to run this week, to do everything we did. We only made $2,000. I actually thought we'd done a fairly good week, but now that I look at the numbers, we did terrible. If you don't have your data, you can't tell. So before I get into any more strategies around business, I reckon that's probably about enough to keep your heads full, at least for a little while. If anybody has any questions, throw them into the chats. Likewise, these are recorded, so they're going to go up on the socials. They'll go different places. You can always leave comments in the comment section below on the recorded video, and the team will be reviewing. We get notifications of comments that come up, so we're happy to answer comments at a later date as well. It doesn't have to just be for the lives. Now, depending on how long these videos are up for, If they get a bit long in the tooth, it may start dropping to the bottom and take a little longer for the team to get to, because the priority will be the newer recordings and the newer videos, because the content will be more relevant. People will be more interactive earlier. So just keep that in mind. If you're watching a video that's a year or two old, then you're probably going to take a little bit take us a little bit longer to get back to you with any replies to comments. But that being said, I'm going to apologize for the YouTube guys, which is you lot up here. Instagrams will stay where you are, and the Zoom crowd, you're cool where you are. But I'm just going to move my camera, and I'm going to have to look around a little more because I want to see. Aha! Here we go. Okay, so we've had a few YouTubers. I'm going to have to set my screens up better. Sorry, everybody else. I'm talking to the YouTube crowd because they're the first ones to put any comments in here. So I had a couple of comments of people saying hi. So hello again. I'm just looking for any comments that I've had pop up. If anybody's, I'm trying my best to not destroy and drop my camera, by the way. Having three screens is a little challenging. Okay, so I did have a comment here on the YouTube crowd. Somebody typed in down here, how do you get the white in your beard? Well, that would be old age and lack of sleep. I think it's just a combination of being not as young as I was. And yeah, I'd like to say that it was some kind of aesthetically made up thing that I'd done. This is just the way it turned out. As you can see, this wasn't intentional either. It just stopped growing in my late 20s. So things happen. And I like to think that I have a face for radio. So we'll go with that. Excuse me. All right. Who else have we got? I don't know if there's any others. Let's have a look here. Okay, actually, sorry, I'm just scrolling back up to some of the earlier questions on the YouTube, guys. So, what have I got here? How much did the mic cost? Okay, this mic is actually an Amazon mic, and to be completely honest, no idea. To be honest, this was just I think it was about $120. It wasn't super expensive. It's not a Shure or anything like that. It is just a knockoff lookalike. I did it for two reasons. One, I wanted the boom mic because it was a lot easier to have the keyboard underneath and have the mic here to work with. And it was half reasonable. There were some good reviews on it. Again, if you're in business, reviews are awesome because people actually look at the reviews. It's how I made the choice for this mic. But yeah, it's about $100. So, all right. Just having another look. I'm going to have to do better because the way I had my YouTube camera set up, I couldn't see the bottom part of the screen to try and get all the little camera dots in the same area. So I was looking roughly at the same area. I actually didn't see the comments come up until I just moved it now and went, oh, look, people actually commented. So my apologies to the YouTubers. So there we go. I'm just going to jump through, see if there was any other comments that I might have missed. And I think I've got everybody else's. I am going to have to move that because I can't see. There we go. No, we're good. All right. So with that being said, I'm just looking. Don't have any more YouTubers on there. I think everyone's packed in for the night. Okay. That will wrap us up for the evening. So thank you all. Appreciate the turnout. Appreciate the comments. And I will be back next week, 8 p.m. Sydney time. And bring your questions. Primarily, if you've got questions around business, bring your questions. Anything that you've got to do with business, yeah, I'm fine to answer the question about my beard, fine to answer questions about mics. But if you've got stuff specifically about business, the idea of this is to try and help you with your business. So if that works for you, and if you'd like to, jump in,
chat about that stuff, ask questions about it. That's what I'm here for. So thanks, everyone. And I shall catch you on the next one. See you next week. All right. Now I've got to work out where all the off